Welcome back to another episode of the Entry for One podcast. I'm your host, Joel Hernandez, and on this episode, we're going to be doing something new. We're going to add a new segment where we talk about the past week's latest entertainment news, along with the movie that we're going to be reviewing. So on this week, we're going to be looking at the pictures and video that we got out of the new Joker movie coming out next year, as well as the Captain Marvel trailer. Along with that, we're going to be reviewing and discussing The Predator, directed by Shane Black. On this week's episode, we're joined by Aaron Cruz.
How you guys doing? Glad to be back.
So before we get into The Predator, like I said, we're going to try and kind of cover some of the biggest news coming out from this past week. So we'll start off with the Captain Marvel trailer that released about a week and a half ago, which will be the newest film next year, summer for the MCU. We kind of got a new look at Brie Larson and what she's going to be kind of
I'm
giving
super
us on the big
excited.
screen. Yeah,
So,
what'd you think on that?
I mean, a lot of people had some negative feedback about it, but I thought it got me like, oh wow, this is something different. You know, I'm so used to the other guys we've been seeing that I'm really excited to have some new character they're adding in right now.
Yeah, with the new trailer, it's interesting to see her as Captain Marvel. Like you said, there was a lot of negative feedback on the trailer. I'm kind of still 50-50 on the trailer as far as excitement goes. I don't
Mm.
know, it feels like there's something missing right now. And it's not like the trailer was a teaser trailer too. It was like it's a full trailer for this movie. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to be excited about. Obviously, we know she's going to be one of the biggest puzzle pieces to defeating Thanos in Avengers Part 4. So that's exciting. Her suit looks cool. I know there was a lot of people that when they had released set pictures, she had the green armor on.
Yeah.
But now we see that she's also going to have her more traditional comic book armor suit in the movie. We even see her helmet in the movie with her kind of mohawk style.
Yeah, exactly. So she kind of went to that little bob haircut thing.
Yeah, which makes sense, like with the armor she had prior to us seeing her in the helmet, because the first pictures we got of her, the suit kind of looked kind of bulky, almost like something
Mm.
was needed, like a helmet or something, to go complete the full suit, I guess. So it now makes kind of sense that she is going to be having that helmet in the movie. As far as what I did like about the trailer, it kind of shows us the funniest thing was seeing Samuel L. Jackson's character with two eyes instead of just one in the eye patch.
Yeah, I know it was kind of weird since we've been so used to seeing him just with an eye patch, you know.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And then we see Jude Law as Captain Marvel, obviously Brie Larson, and then I think we even see
We see a character from Guardians of the Galaxy, who was the what was it, I guess the antagonist or antagonist.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to get his name. His name slipped my mind.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
crazy. I didn't see how I like how they made that connection.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of things they're gonna have to answer with this movie, especially with how Samuel Jackson kind of pages her at the end of
Yeah,
Avengers Infinity War.
with some kind of like a spatial pager, you know. It's not just your normal pager, so it's pretty crazy.
It can talk through space and time, apparently, a pager.
Apparently, yeah.
It's gotta have some boost mode or something. It's
Yeah.
it's really boosting it.
Oh, well,
Yeah, I
it's
don't know.
on the
I don't.
horizon next.
I don't know what Sarvis is on, but it's a really good pager ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's something they're gonna have to obviously kind of discuss and talk about, because if they were to kind of keep it this way, it would have not made any sense why they have never called her character in the prior movie, especially in the first Infinity War.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, it's got a lot of questions to answer, which we're probably gonna find out, But maybe they had, sent her away after some kind of battle, or didn't Earth maybe wasn't ready for superheroes yet. Maybe something had happened because I guess this is based in the early '90s, I believe, is when she landed on Earth. That's when they're kind of trying to work it in.
Yeah, that's where we see the blockbuster sign at the very beginning of the trailer to make sure you know it's in the 90s,
Hmm.
which I thought was kind of a funny touch they put in the trailer. But yeah, I mean, they're gonna obviously have to answer that. All I could really think of is that she's kind of like stuck in a alternate dimension of some sort, like Earth 3 or something. I don't know, something along those lines. I mean, her storyline is very similar to like Green Lanterns, where she kind of gets the powers passed on to her from Captain Marvel. The powers of she was actually wasn't she Miss Marvel, and then she got switched over to Captain Marvel.
Yes, exactly. You done your research. Yeah, I had to look up this chick and Marvel is actually in the movie, and I think it's Jude Law who's playing him. Not 100%, but that's what the speculation is.
Yeah, that's
So
what
he's
he's casted under right now.
Yeah, it's Marvel. So he, I guess, transfers the powers, or maybe he's teaching her how to use her powers. Not 100%. I had to kind of dig deep into the comic book lore, but I haven't gotten an answer yet. So
Yeah, the trailer. I mean, we'll finish it off with this. The trailer just really feels like a teaser trailer. We don't get a lot of what the story's gonna really be about, other than
hmm
assuming it's gonna, because it doesn't look like it's like half origin, half not origin. It feels like, at least with what we got. So I mean, I'm really interested in seeing what the second trailer is gonna look like, because this trailer for me didn't do a whole lot. So I'm looking forward to seeing the next trailer, see if it can establish itself better, I think.
definitely.
Next to that, I mean, the next biggest thing that will happen over this past weekend and week is when we first got a still image of Joaquin Phoenix where he's outside of the Joker makeup. And then Todd Phillips posted, who is the director, posted a video. It was like a camera test of Joaquin Phoenix kind of just standing still, while like projection screen of a clown is projected on his face, which was just pretty creepy to me, at least.
Yeah, that was weird.
And then it transitions into a full shot of him in the full clown makeup.
It kind of looked like they had a Heath Ledger, kind of shine on him. I don't know if you kind of caught that a little bit. Like I saw a couple of the years past Jokers, and I thought I saw a Heath Ledger one in there.
Yeah, so you think do you think they're gonna like pay homage to Heath, or do you just think this is just a good way to present the Joker in this kind
Well,
of.
like I mentioned to you earlier, I think that the makeup that they're using from some of the test shots we've seen. I don't know if you're gonna. I would post these, maybe on our Twitter. But there's one where he's got the red nose and he's got like the blue cheeks or something. Let me pull it up real quick. I have it right here. Yeah, he's got the blue highlighted eyes, red eyebrows, kind of like the reddish mouth. That was like the mask that Heath Ledger was bringing into the bank robbery when we got introduced into the Christian Bale Batman universe. It kind of looks just like that mask he was wearing. So I'm kind of like, it's like a small homage. So I'm thinking that's, they will pay homage to Heath Ledger. So
Yeah, it very much does resemble Heath's Joker. It looks very similar to him. I mean, the hairstyle, even the suit, it looks very similar to the way um Heath Ledger's suit was in the Dark Knight,
hmm
which is more purple, and they gave him more of a red suit in this movie. But yeah, it is very similar, and I know people are kind of comparing it in a negative way. I know I saw this one tweet earlier today where it's like, copy my homework, but don't make it exactly the same.
yeah.
And I mean, I guess that's a fair thing to say, but it's the Joker, you know. I mean, people had an issue with where Jared Leto looked too different, and now with Joaquin Phoenix's character looking so kind of similar to Heath Ledger's Joker, they still seem to have a problem with it. Not a lot of people,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there's some
you
people.
can't make everyone satisfied. I mean, they're gonna do it. To be honest, I'm not a big fan about doing a Joker origin story. I'm kind of on the fence about it myself, but I'm gonna give it a chance. But it is, I don't know. I don't think they're gonna do it right. I'm afraid they're not gonna do it right.
With the Joker, the only thing that leaves me kind of optimistic about this, quote unquote origin story is because as far as comic book movies go, and even comic books, obviously, there's been several renditions of a Joker, and there's been some people that aren't really the Joker, but they're playing as the Joker.
Hmm.
And that's what kind of keeps this movie alive for me, is just kind of knowing that it makes sense in a way that how we've had multiple Jokers now in movies, with Jared Leto being very recently, about 2 years ago now, and then we're getting Joaquin's Phoenix Joker. It just kind of, I don't know. It's nice to kind of see them somewhat play along to their comic books, because I think it's okay to have multiple Jokers. Now, the thing that's going to be interesting about it is whether they're going to either keep Jared Leto's Joker, or this Walking Phoenix Joker is just gonna be its own thing, which is I think what they want to do.
Kind of pulling off like kind of the Spawn, like how they did that one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of strange though if you think about it. It's like we don't really need this movie at all. But I'm glad Joaquin is gonna be doing it because I'm a big fan of
Uh,
him. I don't know about you.
yeah, I love his acting. I really do, and I hope this is not one of those roles that can either ruin or sully that image we have of him. That's what I'm kind of hoping doesn't happen. So
Yeah, and it's crazy how much weight he lost, comparing him to a movie that came out this year, which is called
crazy.
"You Were Never Really Here," which he's pretty bulked up in that movie, and in this movie, he's much slimmer. I mean, he lost a lot of weight for this role.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm pretty excited. Being a Batman fan, there's a lot to look forward to in this movie, and from the camera test we got. Um, I don't know. It has enough hype behind it to keep me excited for next October. So we're gonna have to wait an entire year to get this movie, which is kind of surprising that we got this early footage and pictures of him this early on.
Hmm. It's crazy
So
there. Which I mean, to me, kind of sounds like maybe they're trying to get some hype going. To kind of help them. Get the word out. Maybe get some public opinion. Um, get people talking about it ultimately.
yeah, with this movie having it's gonna be more of a, because it's a movie not in the DC universe. It's a side movie. It has nothing to do with the Wonder Woman, Aquaman.
So non-canon.
Yeah, it's just not canon, so it will definitely have a smaller budget compared to those movies. And with that budget being that small, I mean, it's gonna have to be done filming at least by the end of the year. So, I mean, we even might get a trailer early next year, which is kind of exciting to think about. But yeah, I mean, from what we've seen from the pictures and videos, I'm very excited for this Joker, and I think Joaquin is gonna pull it off, and might even potentially give a very memorable Joker. Have
Yeah, I mean it's a big mantle to live up to.
From the past or the previous Jokers we've gotten, which one has been your favorite one?
I'm a Ledger guy. I think it was a good Joker. He got crazy for it. Leto was out. I liked Leto's too. I didn't think he had enough screen time to really appreciate what they were trying to represent there, like a more modern Joker. More true to the gangster style. How he would exist in a real world. Um, that I didn't, but ultimately I'd probably say Heath Ledger's probably my favorite.
There's something about Nicholas's character that I kind of like about his Joker. The
Mm.
more like mafia style. Sorry, not Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, Jack
Jack
Nicholson.
Nicholson's Joker in
I was just
Batman.
talking about that today. The who was the Batman during that one? The
Ooh.
guy who played Hawkman. Kevin, not Kevin. Ooh,
Oh, I'll let you know right now. Give me
yeah.
one
I
second.
was just having this argument today.
Um, Michael Keaton.
Yes, Michael Keaton. Yes, Michael Keaton.
What were
Yeah.
you What were you debating about?
No, well, I was just we were talking about who his Batman would have been, and I said Michael Keaton's been my Batman. Like I grew up with him, remembering the movies, VHS back in the day. And I thought he was a really good Batman. And then I remember that's when I really saw an on-screen Joker was Jack Nicholson's, which I really liked. And we were talking about origin stories, like how I believe, I don't think it would be to me, I don't think we should see where Joker came from. He kind of I'd like to think of him as some kind of um some kind of people watcher and some on the edge of society. I don't want to find out all this stuff about him. I like him being a mystery. And then my buddy was telling me, well, technically he already has one that was established that Batman had dropped him into that vat of whatever acid and it changed him. And I remember that. I was like, oh yeah, that's true, but I don't think we're gonna go that way with it this time. I don't think so. So I don't know. That's what we're arguing about.
Yeah, with Joker getting an origin, I mean, they want it to be kind of similar to the animated movie, The Killing Joke, where he's kind of like the failed comedian. It doesn't really work out for him. No one really wants to talk to him. He's a very isolated human being, and he goes from being the failed comedian, and then he transitions into the actual Joker. Um, Again, what I like about this movie is it not being really canon to the universe, but being more closer to the comics where there have been multiple iterations of a Joker.
Mhm.
It's just nice to kind of see their interpretation of how they're gonna take this.
Yeah.
Um, Similar to like a movie where I guess like the Halloween sequel, for example, or movies like
Mm.
that, like for example, Rob Zombie's version, which is not canon. It might have not been similar to what the original Halloween movie was like, but it was kind of his interpretation of it in a way, of course. But I don't know. I see what you're saying with the origin. Joker being more mysterious of a character makes adds to the horror of him and his kind of maniac persona that he carries.
Yeah, just kind of something that rolled into town. No, we don't know. I like a little mystery.
Did you ever watch The Room
The Room.
or
No.
the Disaster Artist? You heard about that movie, right?
Yes, yes, I did.
You watched that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So you know about the Room and Tommy Wiseau or Wiseau.
Yes, yes.
So when I think about someone not having an origin story, I think of him.
Right, it comes out of nowhere.
no, no one knows where he's from, where his money's from. He's just a mysterious man making movies.
Yeah, it just kind
Um,
of pops in out of nowhere.
but yeah, I mean, my favorite Joker, I think, is still Heath Ledger. I do like Jack Nicholson's character, his more mafia style approach to him.
Mhm.
What I remember about his Joker is, for one, when he's kind of dancing a prince during the parade,
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
and then at the very end where he gets thrown off it was like a parking garage or a building, and he's kind of there just like ticking. He's like still alive in a way, but he's dead also. And I remember seeing that at a young age, and it was just a very scary thing to see as a child.
Mhm.
So that's something I remember about Nicholson's character. Him going through that art gallery and kind of spray painting it. Yeah, it was a very cool Joker that we got back then by Jack Nicholson. I don't think Jared Leto's Joker gets a lot of credit that he does deserve. I think his Joker was closer to what you would think of a comic book style Joker. Very slender, insane, willing to go the whole nine just to kind of put someone through hell, and he doesn't mind giving you the hell.
Yeah.
Like you said, he didn't get enough screen time, nor did he get enough lines to kind of give that Joker that he probably wanted to give us justice. He very much did lack screen time, and I think that kind of resulted in the performance we got presented to us and the reaction people got from it. So yeah, like you said, if he would have gotten more screen time, I think he could have got some type of chance to kind of have his own take on the Joker, and I think he could have maybe had a fan favorite Joker. And then after that, Heath Ledger, his entire performance is just amazing, and I mean it's basically a flawless performance he gave in The Dark Knight. He obviously gave it all he had, and yeah, it's very iconic. I don't know. That's my favorite. I think.
Mm.
But yeah, it won't be out till next October. It is
I'm
directed by
excited.
Todd Phillips, which is so interesting. He directed the trilogy of The Hangover. So
Oh my God, really?
yeah,
Wow.
I'm not sure if you knew that.
He's really taking a left turn in what he's projects.
Yeah, when it first got announced, and I had did a quick Google search to remind myself who he was, and yeah, he did the Hangover trilogy, and it's just a weird genre switch to completely, go from. I think at least. I mean, I guess you could see it going from a comedic movie to a character that's trying to be comedic but fails at it. Maybe he wanted to do it about himself. Maybe I don't know. That's kind of going super deep into it, but yeah, I think he's trying to establish himself more in the movie biz as a serious director.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely an interesting left turn, like you said, going from this Hangover trilogy into this more. It is a comic book movie, but it's gonna be, I think, a more darker approach to one. Something I think this DC is known for.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm excited for it. Looking forward to it.
Me too.
So before we get into the Predator, did you see any other topics that we might should talk about?
With Venom coming around the corner, my expectations for that are really high, so I'm hoping I don't get my heart broken. But I know we talked about it earlier. Have we talked about it in a podcast about the new release of
We might have briefly. I don't think we have to a larger extent.
Okay, well, yeah, that's coming out in October, so I'm really excited for that. Hoping we might get a cameo from the current Spider-Man, Mr. Holland. So kind of excited, depending on how they're gonna work that in.
You think we'll get one?
I mean, I'm hoping so, man. I think they're gonna do a good job of keeping this under wraps until the very end.
Yeah,
So
being a Tom Hardy fan, maybe you could even call me a Tom Hardy fanboy. Um, yeah, I'm excited for this movie. The Venom we're getting, it's a much larger and huskier Venom that we've gotten previously. I mean, we've only really gotten the Venom in one movie,
and
and that would be in Spider-Man.
Toby
Yeah,
Maguire's, yeah.
and even that Venom wasn't that bad. But this one is kind of closer and truer to the comic books.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. Gonna definitely check it out and see how it turns out. If it doesn't turn out to be a good movie, I don't think it'll break Tom Hardy's
Oh yeah. Yeah,
reputation. I don't think.
yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think he took a stab at it, and I think he's gonna do his best. Yeah, I think people love him too much.
Yeah, I mean, I think with actors deep down, as much as someone might say they don't like the comic book movies, they know that check is nice, and it might even be fun while they go at it. So yeah, I mean, I think Tom Hardy just maybe wanted to kind of have a more relaxed acting role, and give it comic book movie another try. Um, where he played Bane as the villain. I mean, Venom is kind of more of a anti-hero style of character, very complex almost.
Mhm. So, oh, the other thing I was gonna mention is, I don't know if you heard the Halloween series is coming back around with Jamie Lee Curtis coming back into the fold.
You talking about like they're gonna add on to the one coming out this year?
Yeah, it's coming out this year. So Jamie Lee Curtis is actually coming back into it. I was gonna ask you, were we thinking about doing a review on that one?
Oh, I thought you were saying that they're gonna add to the one that's already coming out this year. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the trailer and I know about it. Yeah, yeah, we're gonna definitely talk about that. Definitely.
Yeah, because they had a pre-screening over here in Austin, which I got invited to go, but I couldn't make it. But I was kind of, all this excitement coming from it from a lot of people, so I was just kind of curious. I've actually never seen a Halloween movie. I'll put that in the books.
Really?
Yes, so I'm gonna
Wow.
have to, yeah, I'm gonna have to catch up. I started watching the first one. They just put them up on, I forgot, I think it was on Netflix that I was watching it. But yeah, I'm trying to catch up before they drop it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. I've seen them before. I mean, I maybe seen one or two. But it has been a while since I've watched one. So yeah, I mean, if you say it's back on Netflix, I'm gonna probably check them out before it comes out, so we can kind of do a like a timeline comparison between the entire series. Um, yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that movie. It's getting actually a lot of good reviews, at least what I've seen on Twitter and that film Twitter world. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's gonna be exciting. We'll definitely talk about that. But other than that, I mean, I guess we'll get into the Predator.
Let's
Um,
get
it,
in the
it was written and directed by Shane Black, who was actually in the first Predator. He played a guy named Hawkins. So, um, with the Predator, the best way to describe this story for this movie is that a predator in a different galaxy kind of went rogue and stole some devices from that predator world, and him being kind of the rogue predator, he's getting chased down, and that what kind of leads us to Earth. They both end up in this planet. You see, and not a spoiler, but in the trailer you see two predators, and that's what it really comes down to:
duking it out.
um, rogue predator running away from the other predator, and they fight it out. Um, with this movie, it stars Boyd Holbrook, Trevante Rhodes, Jacob Tremblay, and we have Olivia Munn, and we have Keegan Michael Key in this movie as well. And we even have Sterling K. Brown in this movie. So they had a pretty decent cast in this movie, I think. Um,
A lot a strong B list, honestly.
yeah, it's a solid B list cast that they had
Mhm.
in this movie. While we were talking earlier, you said that this movie does kind of play along through the canon of the previous Predator movies. Um, was that kind of cool to see for you when you watched this movie?
Well, for me, I just recently got into the Alien series, which I never really you know, took took a lot of note into it or interest into it. But after these past two Alien movies that come out in the last 4 years, I started watching it because it's really interesting. But Predators, Alien versus Predator, I don't know how familiar everyone is with it, but they're actually in the same universe, which is crazy. And the engineers, which is another thing, I don't want to get too far off topic, but they're kind of included, and you see references and little Easter eggs throughout the movies. So for me watching this, you see a lot of references to the very first Predator movie, which of course is our former California governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of his movies that he's known for.
The Schwarzenegger.
um the Schwarzenegger, yeah, he was the guy that Predator ran into, and then uh, you ended up regretting it. So they were kind of making references saying that, some guy, a special forces guy, had ran into these guys in the jungle, and they were actually talking about the second movie that came out, which was Danny Glover's, that ended up in the city where they had to deal with the predator, which was probably my first movie that I really fell in love with as a kid and learned the fear of monsters. So it was a really interesting movie to watch back in the day, and then to see it referenced now, it's kind of cool. So they did tie it in that way. You don't see any kind of special cameos or anything like that, though.
Yeah, the last Predator movie we got was Predators, and I don't think I watched that movie. Were you able to catch that movie?
Was it the one with Adrian Boyd?
Yes, it was.
Yes, I did. It was okay actually. It had Eric Foreman, which was a Spawn, our last Spawn we were just talking about. He was in that movie, and I believe he had some serial killer tendencies. And then, oh, spoiler alert! But I don't know. Everyone should have seen that by now. But
Yeah, it came out in
he
2010, so it's been a
yeah, it was
while.
a while back. Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't really add anything to the understanding of what the predators are. So you don't really have to watch that one. If you like predator stuff and watching it tear people apart, then yeah, you might want to catch that one. But the biggest thing you can take away from that is predators. They're a society of hunters and big game collectors. They like their trophies. In this movie, not to take a lot from it, but we find out that the predators, when they collect trophies, are doing a little bit more than collecting trophies. They're actually a little bit smarter than we thought, and we'll get into that in the spoiler part. But it's really interesting to see them tie in the beginning, the first movies. But yeah, you won't miss anything if you didn't see Predators. Definitely.
Yeah, I think the I'll be honest. I mean, I think the only Predator movie I've seen, which is, I think it would be I've watched the first one. I watched Alien versus Predator, and then I've watched this one now. So, that's kind of my track record with the Predator movies. Um, with that being said, um, as a film, what'd you think about this movie?
If you like CG and you like Predator tearing some stuff up, definitely check it out. But the storyline was garbage. I did not fall in love with it. They could have done a lot better. It just it more it more so hurt the reputation that we had for the Predators than anything. Like, I don't think we'll find out in spoilers and stuff, but there's just a few parts that are just like kind of head scratchers. Like, why the hell would a intelligent species do this? Like, kind of made you question what the hell's going on here. But yeah, it wasn't great. I think they're kind of turning it into uh those movies that you have that typical one liner, and kind of like "I'll be back" kind of crap, like that Schwarzenegger was known for. I think they're trying to do one of those kind of action movies, which I really didn't find that interesting at all.
Yeah, with this Predator franchise, I mean, I don't think it's ever really been a successful one. I mean, it's just been like an iconic character that's kind of been built since the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, it puts butts in the seats. Don't get
E-
me wrong, it does.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
just
it's
the
ne-
Predator name.
yeah, like it's been a box office success. But as far as establishing it as a, I guess, good franchise, it's never really done well as far as with the critics goes, and just an overall kind of universe they've built along the way.
If you
Um,
were to compare it to Aliens, Aliens is actually a lot better. Like, they've done a lot better than Predators.
yeah, and I recently rewatched. I rewatched Alien for the first time actually, and then I watched Aliens. And it's very different when you look at kind of Alien Covenant,
Mm-hmm.
and where they kind of try to go back to the kind of thriller horror style that Alien kind of was established as by Ridley Scott,
Yep.
and it's just not the same at all. It's very
No.
different. But yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you on this movie. It didn't really entirely work for me at all. This movie, if anything, there's very few things to kind of appreciate. Um, but for its entirety, it doesn't work. This movie, the best thing about it is kind of the bloodiness and gore aspect of it.
Yeah.
That I think they do a good job giving you that predator that you might have wanted all along, someone that is not scared to cut someone in half or obliterate him with a alien rifle. But other than that, the story is very weak, I think. None of the actors in this movie really stand out, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, even with this solid B cast, I mean, it just kind of feels all over the place while you're watching it, and it's like, why did this happen? Why did they even think of doing that? Yeah, this movie just doesn't work out, and I think um Shane Black kind of dropped the ball on this one a bit.
I mean, was he working on another project or something? It just didn't feel. It felt stupid, man. The writing was just lazy. Hey, like if you're not gonna help me, I'm gonna kill you, kind of thing. Like that. I don't know. It just even the whole alien aspect of it. You know, I don't know. They just kind of ruined it. It just didn't make sense. Like, why would this predator want to contact humans but want to kill them at the same time? I don't know. It's kind of stupid.
Exactly. Yeah, that the whole storyline is, yeah, like you said, it doesn't make sense. Um, Other than the goreness, I mean, if there's another thing to appreciate is the costume design and the makeup work they did on the
Hmm.
Predator. I think that deserves some type of recognition. But other than that, yeah, this just didn't really work out. It's a quick cash movie. The budget for it was 88 million. Worldwide, they have currently at 95 million. So at least they made that money back. But other than that, I think the movie kind of misses the mark, and yeah, didn't work out for me. I don't think.
Yeah, didn't do it, man. Kind of ruined it.
And also, this movie kind of lacks the kind of menacing, almost dominance of what a predator is. They do capture like his huskiness, but as far as how intimidating he can potentially be, I don't think they really give us that.
I think there was too much joking.
Yeah, there was a lot of joke in this movie, and yeah, it definitely dominates this movie. It basically takes you out of any seriousness the movie even had to kind of start with.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
it took away from the intimidation factor that the predators have. You know, kind of embarrassing them or like, you know, like it was just scenarios that just embarrassed a predator because they're so like stealthy. Like, you know, why were they walking past a shadowy window or something like that? And it's kind of it was just dumb. It didn't do it for me. Like, where's the guy that would hide in the forest and like mimic dog barkings or stuff like that? You know, it just dulled it down. They put Nerf padding on this predator. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
and even with the movie trying to be scary, I mean not scary, funny, the jokes weren't even funny in the movie. I mean, some of them are just like,
Okay, like why would you
yeah,
say
like they
that? Like,
really didn't work out. Um, and they even put in some dry humor in this movie, and it just doesn't work out.
yeah,
So the way they kind of formed this movie to be, I think, kind of missed the mark, and even the combat we get between the two predators in this movie, which is kind of the predator and then I think they call him the ultimate predator.
yeah. Which that guy was impressive, dude. That guy stood like 12 feet tall,
Yeah, massive fella.
huge. You know what I take away from this movie? You know, not to we're not in spoilers yet, right?
No.
Correct. Okay, yeah, they're not really a spoiler, but I've always wondered those teeth on a predator, like, are they just like for show? But I actually in the movie I get to see him bite someone's hand off or arm. And I thought it was pretty cool, you know, you couldn't get that without CG, so that was kind of cool, you know. But yeah, so anyways, go ahead. I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah, the gore. Like we said, that's probably the biggest plus to this movie. Um, the action is okay. Um, yeah, this movie just doesn't really work out for me, and I think they definitely missed the mark on with this one.
Mm.
So yeah, if you're a big fan of the Predator series or you like sci-fi movies and you don't really care what you kind of get, you just like seeing aliens in a screen.
Mhm.
I guess you can kind of check this movie out, but if not, you're kind of hesitant on watching this. You can definitely skip this one and kind of wait for it to come out on DVD. Um,
Yeah, definitely save your money, honestly. You're not missing anything.
yeah, I mean, if you have Movie Pass and you can get lucky to get a ticket, you can go check it out that way as well.
Mhm.
But other than that, I mean, I think we'll get into spoilers now. So let's talk about the beginning. In the intro sequence, we get the Predator running away from the Ultimate Predator, and he kind of throws that beam into space and creates a wormhole,
Yeah, which is
which
kinda cool.
I think was kind of cool. Why did he pick Earth? Oh, which was because he wanted to save Earth. So
Apparently, yeah. I don't know if there's like two factions. Maybe he was an activist or something, wanted to save us. But it just didn't make sense. He wants to come to
uh,
Earth to give us something, But at the
he's
same time, he's killing a whole bunch of these people,
he's
which I
pro.
guess which I guess could be seen as threats. They do have weapons, sure, but still, it's not
He's
exactly how you say hello.
he's pro human.
Yeah, but he's killing the hell out of them.
Yeah, so they're in that space chase that we get at the beginning. Once he goes through the wormhole and gets to Earth, you see the two spaceships, right?
Hmm.
The one that's getting chased down, we see the Predator that's kind of piloting the craft, and then we see his spacecraft. We see a little pod. We get a shot of a pod, and the pod kind of releases itself from the actual spaceship. My question was because it's kind of confusing, at least to me while I was watching the movie. Was that two predators in? Was that one that was piloting it, and then one that escaped through the pod?
No, there's one predator on each ship, the big ass ship.
So how did the pod escape the ship, and what was in the pod then? Was it the equipment
It,
that they
wa-
were
it,
talking about?
yeah, that equipment that he's trying to keep safe. Yeah.
Because what's weird about it is in the movie they're looking for the spaceship, but if the pod had the equipment in it, then why do they want the spaceship and not the pod?
Hmm.
Because in when they're in Mexico at the very beginning again, they I believe see that pod, but in that pod it was an alien, wasn't it? And then they start getting shot at by the alien
Well, no, it was his helmet. It was his face mask.
in the helm in the pod.
Yeah, that was his pod. He thought it was the alien, but it wasn't. He had gotten out, and he was, he had gotten he got away from the crash, and then he was killing that dude's buddies that entire time, which was really fast.
It's so weird the way it's structured because at least what I remember in the movie, we get a shot of the predator that's piloting the rogue spaceship, and then we see that
Hmm.
pod escape as well. But I believe we get a second shot of the predator still in that. Because if you think about it, then if that one predator that was in the spaceship escaped through the pod, he was still getting chased by the ultimate predator. So why wouldn't the ultimate predator just go straight to the pod then?
Well, the pod was the predator. That main ship crashed like well far away, where they had to find it. You know that, right?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, why? Then why didn't the ultimate predator just instead go towards the pod? And I guess
Oh,
he was
well,
dumb
the
enough to
ultimate.
not follow it.
Well, the ultimate predator wasn't. Remember, he had to come in later, so he didn't see what had happened.
Wasn't he the one chasing the predator at the beginning though?
Yeah, he was chasing him, so he opened that wormhole. It was like a quick open and shut. So I'm guessing like he can't. he has to like track him. If this is any kind of world where Star Trek makes sense, but he probably had to track him. Probably track a trail to find out what where this predator actually teleported or jumped to.
That's right. I did forget about that wormhole closing like instantly.
Yeah, kind of cut him off.
Yeah, that did cut him off. I mean, even at that, I mean, you would think these aliens would have some, speed force or something to get through there and kind of see where his, because if if these tools are to help the humans survive against these predators, the ultimate predator should know where this predator is taking them. So then, why didn't the ultimate predator ship throw a beam right away, right after, and go keep chasing him? Right?
I mean,
You know?
bro, we need to sign you up for Hollywood, dude.
No, but
We get you in
think about it.
there.
Think
No,
about it.
I agree. I'm totally agree with you. It makes sense. Like, why
'Cause-
would the hell? That's lazy writing, bro.
Because I mean, it's just basic. Because
Common sense.
yeah, it's just common sense. Because if he obviously knows where he's taking these protective weapons for the humans, he could have just automatically thrown his own beam into a wormhole and gotten right away to Earth just as fast as the rogue predator is going.
Hmm.
But that intro sequence was kind of cool. I don't know, for some reason I like that wormhole at the beginning. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's just
It's
cool.
different.
It's just cool to think about if we ever were able to do that in the future.
Whew, yeah.
Um, but with that being said, I mean, what'd you think about the overall story? What's something you didn't or did not like after we get that intro sequence throughout the movie?
I liked the fact that we see this company or this part of a government that after the introduction of predators, they've been establishing themselves as the experts in the predators. So it's like it's finally we have an answer. We know that these guys have been landing here. They're not ignorant to the fact that people have been coming down here for years, so that's they're aware of it. I kind of like how they had that human factor where it's not like we're in the first movies we didn't know what the heck we were dealing with, and in the city or in the jungle, but now they have a task force, though it didn't matter because that big predator messed them up. But I like how we had some kind of you know um like a backup plan.
When we were talking about the kind of how they kind of not pay homage, but they bring up the past Predator movies. What specific things did they talk about? Because I didn't really catch them actually kind of talking about the original movies. Was it kind of like a little Easter egg that you saw?
Well, they were legitimately talking about how they had an engagement in Nicaragua. It was like somewhere in South Asia they were talking about, and that's kind of where Arnold. Well, they were doing a mission down there. I forgot where it was. I think it was Cambodia, and the predator was over there just hunting and tearing up these people, and then this kind of special forces, DEA people or CIA people had gotten caught up in the middle of his hunt, and they had to like fight for survival. That was kind of when that's he mentioned like something in East Asia. That's where that happened, and then he talked about how it ended up in the city. I forgot what city he mentioned. I want to say it was Los Angeles. That that predator had done that stuff over there, so they're kind of paying homage to the original movies, talking about those guys. And they were talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was the special. I think he referred to him as the. He didn't say he was a soldier. He was like a special agent or something like that that had firsthand experience.
Um, yeah. Throughout the movie, we see the experimentation they're doing with the predator. They have him kind of locked away in a facility where they're kind of testing him. And we get this one scene where like the doctors are getting so close to the predator, like he doesn't have some type of special ability or like lair to kind of not allow him to be suppressed by the medicine they're giving him.
Mhm.
And then we have this doctor like that is like right next to his face, and he just gets like clawed in the face by
Yeah.
the
Oh,
predator, and it got kind of turns into like a rampage almost.
like a bloodbath, dude. Ugh.
And what's funny about this entire thing that this is the predator that's trying to save these people.
And he's tearing these guys apart, you know?
So if it just doesn't make sense why this is happening. It's just happening.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, man.
Like you're just like let's say you were I don't know. I mean, you just kind of get thrown onto this roller coaster forcibly, and you kind of just enjoy the ride and not really think about it in the moment.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if you don't think, it should be a good money, good movie.
But after that, I mean, we get introduced to like the squadron that kind of is supposed to be kind of the heroes of this movie that kind of help defeat this pro-human predator and then the ultimately the ultimate predator, which is made up of Trevante Rhodes, Boyd Holbrook, Jacob
Mm.
Tremblay, and Keegan Michael Key, and then I think Alfie Allen, Augusto Aguilera, and then I think even Jake Boozy. But they were kind of useless. They were like the intouchables, but like the ones that couldn't think for themselves. They're like the rejects. They're the ones that didn't make the
Yeah,
cut.
the reject squads, yeah.
They were people that were previously in the either the army and they had some type of mishap and they kind of got kicked out and now they're on
So
their way to
they
jail.
were trained, yeah, but yeah, it just kind of seemed like they were useless, man.
Yeah, and the way they're presented to us, like when we're in the bus and they're kind of cracking jokes and stuff. Like here and there, one thing was like ever so slightly funny, but other than that, I mean, it just felt like we're getting these like middle school jokes, and I don't know if the point of it is to make them seem that these guys really can't think for themselves, and they kind of give these very childish jokes, or if they're
Mhm.
actually being serious and really meaning what they're saying behind them. But yeah, to me, they were kind of pointless to me. What do you think about the entire squadron?
Man, it was a squad of misfits for sure, but it was it didn't appeal to me. There was no group dynamic. There was no bonding there. It was kind of forced. Um, it didn't feel right. And at the time, that Predator does the movie doesn't seem like it needs that. You know, who are these guys? Why are these guys gonna help this guy help his kid who's an asshole? I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me. It just kind of got along just because they had to get along. So I don't know. It didn't do it for me, man.
Yeah, there's one scene where we get the cast all in one kind of motel room almost.
Hmm.
And that entire sequence was just very awkward. I mean, it just doesn't work out. I get what they were trying to do, where they're kind of trying to be safe around the one girl in the team. But that entire scene just doesn't work out. I mean, they throw some.
It got a little rapey, bro.
Yeah, I was like, okay, like
What's going on here?
Shane Black, come on, man, what are you doing? Yeah, that whole scene was very awkward, at least for me. And yeah, that's one scene that stood out, but not in a good way. But after that, it feels rushed after that because we see Jacob Tremblay's character, which is the son of Boyd Holbrook in this movie, and he opens up the package, which he was never meant to see. It was meant to be held by his mom,
Hmm.
hid away somewhere. And Jacob Tremblay's character in this movie is like a genius that has some type of mental disorder, maybe Alzheimer's or something.
Wasn't no, not Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's, you would start losing your
Wait, wait,
memory.
wait, 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 wait,
Asperger's.
wait. No, 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 no.
autistic or
He's
something.
autistic.
Jesus Christ.
He's
It's like, who's my daddy? What is this?
he starts
Oh my
mistaking the
god.
predator as his dad.
Oh man.
My bad, my bad, my bad, my bad, my bad.
You're good.
And we see his character. He's presented as this very smart kid, and he's like quickly figuring out how to handle this alien spacecraft devices.
Yeah.
And then he activates the trigger, which then allows the ultimate predator to, oh hey, they're at Earth. I didn't know that somehow. And that's what triggers him to find that this rogue predator has kind of traveled to Earth to help these humans, although he's killing them.
Yeah.
Which again makes sense because they kind of see the humans see him as a threat, so they start shooting at him, and he has to obviously defend himself some way. Um, but doesn't he speak human a little bit in this movie?
The Predator?
Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
right. He starts kind of talking, almost translating his own words.
Like single phrases, yeah.
So I don't know why he couldn't have just kind of like said, "Hey guys, I'm here to help you from being obliterated from Earth.
Don't kill me.
Yeah, don't kill me."
Don't make me kill you.
Yeah. So yeah, I noticed that while I was watching the movie, I couldn't really tell if that's what he was doing, but yeah, he was kind of translating his words almost. But after we get the scene where he's kind of having a rampage in the underground facility, kind of doing tests on him, we then get a scene where Jacob Tremblay is going trick or treating and he's wearing the Predator's helmet,
Mhm.
which was funny, but that helmet is gotta be at least entirely made out of metal, and the Predator's head is at least a good 2 feet, so that's 2 feet of metal. So I don't know
Yep.
how this little kid was able to wear that giant piece of metal on his head without
Not breaking his
dislocating.
neck.
So that was funny. And then we see him kind of like he also has the gauntlet, the Predator's gauntlet on,
Mhm.
and he blasts this guy on the balcony and it just blows up the
That's
entire house.
funny, dude. What an asshole. He's
And he
like, "Here's
just
your trick or treat."
yeah, he's and he just kind of like, oh well, like just kind of leaves it at that. And um, yeah, that whole scene's just kind of like I don't
It's
know.
like I didn't just murder somebody.
Yeah. So that scene was kind of funny. Um, but other than that, once we see them they're at like at a school almost
Yeah,
chasing
they end up
down.
at the school, yeah, right across the street from a football field or something like that.
Yeah, they're chasing down the predator, and ultimately, what ends up happening is he's chasing the squadron down because he's still trying to kill these humans because they keep shooting at him.
Mhm.
While still being pro human, keep that in mind. And then the ultimate predator lands. And this is kind of the one scene where we only really see the predator fight the ultimate predator before the predator is kind of
Not
beheaded and it's
not even a real fight, man. That guy got wrecked.
yeah. What you think about kind of that scenario we got between the two? Would have liked to see more of that? Obviously.
I mean, I kind of figured like this kind of just tells me this Ultimate Predator is nothing to be trifled with, man. That dude was huge compared to that little one, like even the which is actually one of the more funnier jokes. He says, "Is that the male?" But it was just that dude was huge. We find out that they've been collecting DNA from from the best hunters in all other planets. So like they've been infusing predators with that DNA, creating like a more hybrid hunter. So this guy was infused with some animal that he killed that could turn itself rock solid and take bullets and damage without flinching. So it was kind of intimidating when you see him. I don't know, predator does something to him and it doesn't. It just bounced right off of him.
This was like a very slim down Thanos with dreadlocks.
Right.
He had a kid with Thanos' wife. Um,
It was huge.
but yeah, it's weird how this movie is structured. Because if they would have went the route where this pro pro human predator joined the humans to stop the ultimate predator,
Mhm.
it would have felt like very typical of a movie, kind of like the ET almost, where he wants to help the humans
Yeah.
in a way, and it would have really felt safe if they would have done that. But the way it's done in this movie, it kind of throws the story off because we get this pro human in here, and then he gets killed off almost three quarters in, and then now the squadron is left to defeat the ultimate predator,
Mhm.
which then kind of doesn't really add anything to the movie anymore, just because this movie I think would have worked out better if this movie would have had like almost a Mission Impossible ending to it, where it's a countdown. Where if these humans are able to completely put together whatever these life saving instruments were, and
It
it's
could
leading up to, yeah,
defeat that big. Yeah, that would have been a better ending, honestly.
like if time is continuously ticking down and they're trying to put this thing together while they have this ultimate predator trying to stop them along the way, I think it would have played out, it would have made the stakes higher in this movie, because the stakes in the movie aren't really there, because the stakes that they give us are just very very local stakes. It's just as far as if this ultimate predator gets away, he's just going to kind of kill the people in the town and then leave, because his the predator's motivation was to try to retrieve those tools.
Mhm. Didn't want them to have it. So why not get us to use it against it?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, it would have been better that way. Instead of being like that ending, that horrible ending. Horrible
What
ending,
did you
man.
like about it the most?
I mean, it just wasn't like I said, it was one of those movies that they're trying to do that uh like one liner corny, like, oh, like I needed in a long suit, that's my suit, no, bro, this is gonna be someone who matches our desires, not some crazy, soldier guy that, I don't know, man, I just didn't like it.
Almost
It was
Hulk Buster almost.
yeah, like, come on, bro. No, you don't get to just claim this. Who are you again? Weren't we trying to kill you earlier?
He's like, yeah, that's what I need at the
Yeah,
very
like,
end.
nah, dude, you can take over the country with this damn thing. There's no control over you.
Zzz, zzz, zzz.
Yeah, dude. Jesus. Terrible. No way.
What I think what's unique about the Predator franchise, and I think they kind of veer off with the ending, is that the Predator should always be someone that's more dominant than you. You're gonna struggle to fight this guy.
Mhm.
You don't need a suit, or no, they do. It would make it easier if they had a suit. But what plays to the storyline of the Predator movies is that these people are struggling to defeat this character. So the entire film, they're constantly being defeated, and at the very end, they succeed at that. Whereas with this
Mm.
suit, and if they decide to use this suit in a sequel, it's basically gonna be game over, and he's just gonna go on a rampage, I guess, at Predator World and obliterate all of them. But I don't even,
Maybe.
and at that,
May-
even at that, I don't even know how they're gonna get to their planet. I don't know, unless they, you know what, they're gonna probably use that spaceship. They're gonna put a wormhole and they're gonna go into the Predator World.
Go mess them up.
I see them doing that. But yeah, I know. I don't know. I wish this story would have gotten played out better. Again, what I would think might have worked better is if it was more of a countdown style movie of them putting together these pieces of alien hardware, which we don't even see in this movie. Did you see anything that was the human savior?
As far as that armor at the end, that was it, man.
That was the weapon, huh?
Yeah, that was the weapon, dude. That was it. That's
And
all
it
they
was
wanted to
one
bring.
suit. What if
Yeah,
there's
that's
multiple Ultimate
that's
Predators?
what I'm saying, bro. You got the whole third fleet of Predator world coming down here with 10,000 strong. You're just gonna put
Yeah,
that suit
yeah,
on.
yeah, no, yeah. No, you know what? I I forgot that was the
That was the
tool.
suit, bro. It was terrible.
Yeah, yeah. And if you think about it, if that's the human savior against this ultimate predators, because there's got to be multiple, probably thousands. Yeah, there's no way that one suit's gonna save mankind from being
Mhm.
fully obliterated off the face of this galaxy.
Yeah, bro, it's done.
So, anyways, yeah, this movie didn't really work out, at least for me.
It's terrible, man. I'm on board. I'm gonna give it a two thumb down over here. Cruise missiles down. That's it.
um, yeah, I think that'll do it for this movie. If you really wanted to see this movie, I mean, I think I
Save
can.
your money.
Yeah,
Save your money.
if you have some Regal points saved up, maybe, or you have Movie Pass or AMC, the AMC Pass now, or that new Draft House Pass, I guess, as well. You can check it out. But if not, I think you can definitely wait on this one. Um, but other than that, I think that'll do it for this week's episode. On next week's episode, I think we're gonna be talking about a new Netflix TV show called
I think it's what was it?
it's called Maniac,
Maniac. Yeah,
which stars Jonah Hill and Emma Stone. It's a mini
looks really
series,
interesting. Yeah.
10-part mini series on Netflix. So we're working on finishing that up, and we'll talk about it and review it, and see kind of what we got out of it and what our thoughts on it. We're also going to be joined by a new member to this podcast, Arturo. So you'll be hearing a new face in this show. But other than that, where can they find you on social media?
You know where you guys can check me out. Go on the Twitter. Tweet me a few lines. Let me know if we can do anything for you as far as reviewing, maybe some trailers you want us to look at. It's gonna be at Cruise6112.
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at entryforone. Our podcast is on most streaming platforms. You can find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play Music. And if you don't have any of those, we're on our host streaming service, which is Podbean, if you want to use that. You can find me primarily on Twitter at Video Josue, Video Josue. Other than that, thank you for listening.